Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Defender, looking out at the stars through the big window. The ship was huge, stretching for more than a kilometer from front to back. It was the newest and best warship that humans had ever built. Jake had been its captain for 3 years now, and he loved every day of it. The Defender was on patrol duty in the Kepler 442 system. This was far from Earth, near the edge of human space. Most of the time, patrol duty was boring. They would fly around, check on mining stations, and make sure everything was safe. Today felt different, though. Jake could not explain why, but something in the air made him feel nervous. "Captain, we have something on the long-range sensors," said Lieutenant Lisa Carter from her station. Lisa was the ship's tactical officer. She was very good at her job and never missed anything important. Her voice sounded worried. Jake walked over to Lisa's station. "What do you see?" Lisa pointed at her screen. "There are ships coming toward us. Lots of ships. I count at least 200 of them." Jake looked at the screen. The dots were still very far away, but they were moving fast. "Are they human ships?" "No, sir. The engine signatures are completely different. I have never seen anything like this before." Jake felt his heart beat faster. In all his years in space, he had never seen alien ships. Most humans believed that aliens existed somewhere in the galaxy, but no one had ever met them. Now it looked like that was about to change. "How long until they get here?" Jake asked. "About 6 hours at their current speed," Lisa said. Jake nodded. "Sound yellow alert. Wake up everyone who is sleeping. I want all department heads on the bridge in 10 minutes." The yellow alert alarm started ringing throughout the ship. Jake watched as his crew began moving faster. They were well trained and knew what to do. The Defender had 800 people on board, and every one of them was the best at their job. Lieutenant Ben Torres, the communications officer, looked up from his station. "Captain, I am picking up transmissions from the unknown ships. Can you understand what they are saying?" "The computer is working on it now. It will take some time to figure out their language." Jake's senior officers began arriving on the bridge. Commander Ryan Bell, the chief engineer, came first. Ryan was a big man with strong hands who could fix anything on the ship. Next came Lieutenant Colonel Amy Stone, the weapons specialist. Amy was small but tough, and she knew more about weapons than anyone Jake had ever met. Dr. Kate Phillips, the chief medical officer, arrived last. She was always calm and ready to help anyone who got hurt. Jake was glad to have such good people working with him. "What is the situation?" Ryan asked. Jake pointed at the main screen, which now showed the approaching ships. "We have 200 unknown vessels heading our way. They are not human." Amy looked at the screen carefully. "Those are warships. Look at the size of them. Some of those ships are 5 times bigger than us." Dr. Phillips crossed her arms. "Are they friendly?" "We do not know yet," Jake said. "Ben, any luck with those transmissions?" Ben nodded. "The computer has figured out some of their language. It sounds like they are talking about us. They keep using words that translate to primitive and weak." Jake did not like the sound of that. "Keep working on it. I want to know everything they are saying." Lieutenant Chris Weber, the navigator, spoke up. "Captain, should we call for backup? There are 3 other human ships within 2 days' travel." Jake thought about it. 2 days was a long time. The alien ships would be here in 6 hours. "Send a message to Fleet Command. Tell them what we found, but do not ask for help yet. We need to see what these aliens want first." Lisa looked at her sensors again. "Captain, the alien ships are slowing down. They are moving into some kind of formation." Jake watched as the dots on the screen began to spread out. The alien ships were forming a large circle, with the biggest ships in the center and smaller ones around the edges. It looked like they were getting ready for a fight. "This does not look good," Amy said. "That is a battle formation if I ever saw one." Ben suddenly looked up from his station. "Captain, I have something. The aliens are trying to contact us directly." "Put it on the main speakers," Jake said. A strange voice filled the bridge. It sounded like it was coming from underwater, with lots of clicking and whistling sounds. The computer worked to translate it into English. "Unknown vessel. This is Admiral Vextar of the Zephyrian Dominion. You are in space that now belongs to us. Power down your weapons and prepare to surrender. Any resistance will be met with complete destruction." The bridge became very quiet. Jake felt his hands form into fists. These aliens were demanding that humans surrender without even talking first. They thought they could just take human space because they had more ships. "Ben, open a channel to them," Jake said. "Channel open, sir?" Jake spoke clearly and calmly. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human starship USS Defender. You are in human space without permission. We are willing to talk, but we will not surrender to anyone." There was a long pause. Then the alien voice came back, and it sounded angry. "Humans? We have heard of your species. You are new to space travel. You have primitive weapons and weak ships. You will surrender now, or we will destroy you and take your space anyway." Jake looked around at his crew. They were all watching him, waiting to see what he would do. He thought about all the human colonies in this system. There were millions of people who were counting on him to protect them. "I need options," Jake said quietly. Amy checked her weapon systems. "All weapons are ready, Captain, but there are so many of them." Ryan looked at his engineering displays. "All systems are running perfectly. The ship is ready for anything." Lisa studied her tactical screen. Their ships are old designs. They rely on heavy armor and big guns. They move slowly and stay in tight formations. Jake made his decision. "Ben, send another message to the aliens." "Ready, sir." "Admiral Vextar, you have entered human space with hostile intent. You have threatened human lives. I am giving you one chance to leave peacefully. If you do not, we will defend ourselves." The alien laughter that came back sounded like breaking glass. "One human ship against 200 Zephyrian warships? You are either very brave or very stupid. You have 5 minutes to surrender before we destroy you." Jake looked at his crew one more time. Red alert. All hands to battle stations. This is not a drill. The red alert sirens began to sound throughout the ship. Jake knew that in a few minutes they would either be dead or they would make history. Either way, the Defender would not surrender. Admiral Vextar stood in the command center of his flagship, the Eternal Conquest. The ship was massive, 10 times bigger than the small human vessel that dared to challenge him. Around him, his officers worked at their stations, preparing for what would be the easiest battle of their careers. Vextar was tall and thin, with gray skin and forearms. He had been fighting wars for over 50 years. In all that time, he had never lost a battle. His fleet had conquered 17 different star systems. Every species they met had surrendered quickly when they saw the power of the Zephyrian Dominion. "Sub-Commander Kriya, show me the intelligence report on these humans," Vextar said. Kriya was smaller than the Admiral, with bright blue skin and large eyes. She was the fleet's tactical advisor and very good at studying enemy weaknesses. She touched her control panel and brought up a holographic display. "The humans are a very young species in space terms," she said. "They have only been traveling between stars for about 100 years. Their technology is basic. They use simple fusion engines and old-style energy weapons. Their ships have weak armor and poor shielding." Vextar looked at the display with satisfaction. How many ships do they have? Intelligence reports suggest they have fewer than 50 warships total. Most of their vessels are cargo ships or colony transports. They have never fought a real war in space. Another officer spoke up. Admiral, we have visual contact with the human ship. The main screen showed the USS Defender floating in space. Compared to the Zephyrian ships around it, it looked tiny and fragile. Vexstar could see weapon ports along its hull, but they looked small and weak. That is their most powerful warship? Vexstar asked. According to our intelligence, yes. It is called a battlecruiser, but it is smaller than our light cruisers. Vexstar laughed. The sound was like metal scraping against stone. They are either very brave or very stupid, perhaps both. Meanwhile, aboard the Defender, Captain Morrison was meeting with his senior staff in the battle bridge. This was a smaller command center deep inside the ship, protected by thick armor and powerful shields. If the main bridge was destroyed, they could still control the ship from here. What do we know about these Zephyrians? Jake asked. Lisa looked at her reports. From their transmissions, we can tell they are a military empire. They seem to think they are much stronger than us. They have been talking about humans, like we are children with toys. Commander Bell checked his systems. All weapon systems are charged and ready. The quantum torpedoes are loaded. Plasma cannons are at full power. Point defense systems are active. Amy looked at the tactical display. Their ships are arranged in a standard intimidation formation. Big ships in the center, smaller ones forming a perimeter. They are not even trying to hide their strategy. Are they that confident? Jake asked. It looks like it. They think we will run away when we see how many ships they have. Dr. Phillips spoke up. Captain, what if we did try to run? Could we escape? Jake thought about it. Maybe. The Defender is faster than their ships. But if we run, what happens to the colonies in this system? What happens when they decide to attack Earth? Everyone was quiet for a moment. They all knew that sometimes running away just made things worse later. Ben, are they still transmitting? Jake asked. Yes, sir. They are talking to each other now. The computer has learned more of their language. They are making jokes about how easy this will be. What kind of jokes? They are betting on how long it will take us to surrender. Most of them think we will give up before they even fire their weapons. Jake felt anger building inside him. These aliens thought humans were weak and cowardly. They had come to human. Space threatened human lives, and now they were laughing about it. Back on the Eternal Conquest, Admiral Vexstar was getting impatient. The 5 minutes he had given the humans were almost up, and they still had not surrendered. Admiral, the human ship is powering up its weapons, reported the sensor officer. Vexstar looked at the display with amusement. How adorable. They think they can fight us. He turned to his fleet commanders. All ships, move to attack formation. Charge all weapons. We will show these humans what real power looks like. The Zephyrian fleet began to move. 200 warships, spread out in a perfect attack formation. The massive dreadnoughts moved to the front, their huge guns pointing at the Defender. Smaller ships moved to surround the human vessel, cutting off any escape routes. Admiral, all ships report ready for battle, Kriya said. Excellent. Open a channel to the human ship. The transmission went out across space. On the Defender's bridge, Ben received the message. Captain, the Admiral is trying to contact us again. Put him through. Vexstar's voice filled the bridge, cold and threatening. Human Captain, your time is up. You have seen our fleet. You know you cannot win. This is your last chance to surrender before we destroy you. Jake looked around at his crew. They were all watching him, waiting for his decision. He thought about his wife back on Earth, about the families of his crew members, about all the people counting on them to keep them safe. Ben, open a channel. Channel. Open, sir. Jake spoke clearly and firmly. Admiral Vextar, we have seen your fleet. We are not impressed. Human space is not for sale, and human lives are not for taking. If you want to fight, you will get one. There was a long pause. Then Vextar's laughter filled the bridge. 1 ship against 200. You are either the bravest fool in the galaxy, or the most stupid. Very well. You have chosen death over surrender. Do not blame us for what happens next. The transmission ended. Jake turned to his crew. All stations battle ready. Lisa, give me a full tactical analysis of their formation. Lisa worked quickly at her station. They are using a classic overwhelming force strategy. They plan to hit us with everything at once, hoping to destroy us before we can fight back. What are our advantages? We are faster and more maneuverable. Our weapons have longer range than theirs. And Captain, there is something else. Their formation is too tight. If we can cause some confusion, they might end up shooting each other. Jake nodded. Amy, what is the status of our weapons? All systems are ready. Quantum torpedoes are armed and targeted. Plasma cannons are charged to full power. Point defense grid is active. Ryan, how are the engines and shields? Running at 100% efficiency. The new shield generators are performing perfectly. Jake looked at the main screen. The alien fleet was almost in position. In a few minutes, the battle would begin. He thought about how confident the aliens were, how sure they were the humans would be easy to defeat. Ben, record a message for Fleet Command, Jake said. Ready, sir. This is Captain Morrison of the USS Defender. We are about to engage a hostile alien fleet of 200 ships. If we do not survive this battle, tell Earth that we did not surrender. Tell them that humans do not bow to anyone. Jake paused, then continued. But if we do survive, tell them that today was the day the galaxy learned what humans are really capable of. On the Eternal Conquest, Admiral Vextar was enjoying himself. This would be the fastest victory in Zephyrian history. The humans would be destroyed in seconds, and the Dominion would add another star system to their empire. All ships, final weapon check, he ordered. All vessels report weapons armed, and ready, came the reply. Target the human ship. On my command, all ships will fire at once. We will turn that pathetic vessel into space dust. Vextar looked at the screen showing the lone human ship. It looked so small and helpless, surrounded by his mighty fleet. Soon, it would be nothing but debris. Admiral, the human ship is moving, reported the sensor officer. Moving where? There is nowhere to run. They are not running, sir. They are turning to face us directly. Vextar was surprised. Most species tried to run when they saw the full power of his fleet. But the humans were actually turning to fight. It was either the bravest thing he had ever seen or the most foolish. How interesting, he said. They want to die with honor. Very well. All ships open fire. Captain Jake Morrison stood calmly on the battle bridge as the alien fleet moved into attack position. Around him, his crew worked with quiet efficiency. There was no panic, no shouting, no confusion. They were professionals who had trained for this moment their entire careers. Lisa, I need a complete analysis of their fleet composition, Jake said. Lisa's fingers moved quickly over her console. I count 12 dreadnoughts, 46 heavy cruisers, 89 light cruisers, and 53 destroyers. Their formation is textbook standard. Big ships in the center, smaller ones creating a perimeter. What about their weapons? Long-range sensors show they are using particle beam weapons and kinetic projectiles. Old technology, but they have a lot of it. Their strategy seems to be overwhelming firepower rather than precision. Jake nodded. Amy, what can you tell me about their defenses? Amy studied her tactical display. They are using conventional energy shields and thick armor plating. Their shield frequencies are easy to read. They are not even trying to hide them. It is like they want us to see how strong they think they are. Ryan, how are our systems holding up? Commander Bell checked his engineering displays. All systems are operating at peak efficiency. The quantum generators are stable, plasma conduits are clear, and our new shield matrix is ready for testing. Jake walked to the center of the bridge. Here is what we know about the enemy. They have more ships than us, but they are using old tactics and older technology. They think we are weak because we only have one ship. They are about to learn that. Sometimes one ship is all you need. Dr. Phillips looked worried. Captain, what if their intelligence is wrong? What if they are stronger than we think? Then we will deal with that when it happens. But I do not think they are wrong about themselves. They are just very wrong about us. Jake turned to his communications officer. Ben, patch me through to the entire ship. All decks are listening, sir. Jake pressed the communication button. This is the captain speaking. In a few minutes, we are going to fight a battle that will be remembered for a long time. We are facing an enemy that thinks humans are weak and primitive. They think our technology is inferior and our courage is limited. They are about to discover how wrong they are. He paused, looking around the bridge. The USS Defender represents the best of human engineering and human spirit. We are not just fighting for ourselves today. We are fighting for every human colony, every human family, and every human child who deserves to grow up free. Show them what humans can do. Throughout the ship, 800 crew members heard their captain's words. In the engine room, technicians made final adjustments to the quantum torpedoes. In the weapons bays, gunners checked their targeting systems. In the medical bay, Dr. Phillips and her team prepared for casualties. On the alien flagship, Admiral Vexstar was getting impatient. Why is that human ship just sitting there? Are they frozen with fear? Sub-Commander Kriya studied her sensors. Admiral, there is something strange about their energy readings. Their power output is much higher than our intelligence reports. Suggested. How much higher? At least 3 times what we expected. Maybe more. Vexstar waved one of his 4 arms dismissively. It does not matter. They could have 10 times the power and still be outnumbered 200 to 1. All ships prepared to fire. Back on the Defender, Jake was receiving final reports from his department heads. Weapon systems are fully charged and ready, Amy reported. Quantum torpedoes are armed. Plasma cannons are at maximum power. Point defense grid is active. Shields are at full strength, Ryan said. The new adaptive matrix is online and responding perfectly. I have targeting solutions for all enemy vessels, Lisa added. The computer has identified the best attack sequence to cause maximum confusion in their formation. Jake looked at the main screen. The alien fleet was spread out in a perfect attacking formation. It looked impressive and threatening. But Jake could see the weaknesses that his crew had identified. The ships were too close together, their formation was too rigid, and they were completely unprepared for what was about to happen. Ben, any more intelligence from their transmissions? They are still talking like this is going to be easy. One of their captains just said that he hopes we last long enough to make it interesting. Jake smiled grimly. Oh, it will be interesting. Red alert, all stations. Battle stations, everyone. The red alert sirens echoed through the ship. Jake could feel the vibration as the massive engines adjusted power flow to the weapon systems. The Defender was ready for war. Captain, incoming transmission from the alien fleet, Ben reported. Put it through. Admiral Vexstar's voice filled the bridge. Human Captain, this is your absolute final warning. Surrender now or be destroyed. You have 10 seconds to decide. Jake picked up the communication device. Admiral, this is Captain Morrison. We have made our decision. We choose to fight. Then you choose to die. All ships open fire. But Jake was not finished talking. Admiral, before your ships fire, let me tell you something about humans. We do not surrender. We do not run away. And we do not give up. You came to our space, uninvited. You threatened our people. You demanded our surrender. Now you are about to learn why that was a very bad idea. The transmission ended. Jake turned to his crew. All stations ready for combat. Lisa, give me a firing solution on their flagship. Target locked, sir. Amy, weapons status? All weapons ready to fire on your command. Ryan, shield status? Shields at maximum. All systems ready. Jake looked at the main screen one more time. The alien fleet was beautiful in its way, spread out against the stars like a deadly flower. In a few seconds, that beauty would be replaced by fire and destruction. All ships in the alien fleet are opening fire, Lisa reported. On the screen, Jake could see flashes of light as 200 alien warships fired their weapons simultaneously. Energy beams, plasma bolts, and kinetic projectiles streaked through. Space toward the Defender. It was the most concentrated attack in the history of space warfare. Incoming fire will reach us in 15 seconds, Lisa announced. Jake watched calmly as death approached his ship. Around him, his crew waited for orders. They trusted him completely, and he would not let them down. All hands brace for impact. Jake announced over the ship's communication system. The alien weapons reached the Defender and struck with tremendous force. The ship shook as energy beams hit the shields. Plasma bolts exploded against the hull. Kinetic projectiles slammed into the armor plating. For a moment, the space around the Defender was filled with brilliant explosions and energy discharges. The alien fleet had fired everything they had at the single human ship. When the light faded, Admiral Vexstar expected to see empty space where the human ship had been. Instead, the Defender was still there, completely undamaged. Not a single alien weapon had penetrated its defenses. Impossible, Vexstar whispered. How are they still alive? On the Defender's bridge, Jake looked around at his crew. Damage report. No damage, sir, Ryan reported. Shields absorbed 98% of the incoming fire. The remaining 2% was blocked by our hull armor. Casualties? None, sir. We barely felt it. Jake nodded. Very good. Now it is our turn. Amy, you may fire when ready. Amy smiled. With pleasure, sir. Firing quantum torpedoes. A Defender responded to the alien attack with weapons that the Zephyrians had never seen before. Quantum torpedoes phased through space-time itself, bypassing alien shields as if they did not exist. Plasma cannons generated temperatures hotter than the core of a star. Advanced targeting systems locked onto multiple targets simultaneously. Admiral, screamed the sensor officer on the alien flagship. Their weapons are not registering on our sensors until they hit. What do you mean? Vexstar demanded. The torpedoes are phasing through our shields. They are not even slowing down. The first quantum torpedo struck a Zephyrian dreadnought amidships. The massive vessel, which had survived dozens of battles, simply exploded. There was no gradual damage, no time to evacuate. One moment it was there, the next it was scattered atoms. All ships returned fire. Vexstar screamed, but the Defender was already moving to its next target. The space around the USS Defender erupted into chaos as the human warship began its attack. What had started as a confident alien assault quickly turned into a nightmare for the Zephyrian fleet. Captain Jake Morrison stood calmly on the bridge. As his ship's weapon systems unleashed destruction on a scale the galaxy had never seen. The Defender moved with grace and precision, its advanced engines allowing it to dance between enemy ships while its weapons found target after target. Target the heavy cruiser on our starboard side, Jake commanded. Target acquired, Amy replied, her fingers flying over the weapon's controls. Firing plasma cannon. A beam of superheated plasma, hotter than the surface of the star, lanced out from the Defender. It struck the Zephyrian cruiser's hull and cut through it like a knife through paper. The alien ship broke apart in a brilliant explosion that lit up the darkness of space. Admiral Vexstar watched in horror from his flagship as his fleet was systematically destroyed. In the first 30 seconds of the battle, the humans had already destroyed 12 of his ships. His own weapons seemed completely useless against the human vessel. How is this possible? He demanded from his bridge crew. Our intelligence said they were primitive. Sub-Commander Kriya was frantically checking her tactical displays. Admiral, their weapons are unlike anything we have ever encountered. Our shields cannot stop them. Our armor cannot protect us. Then use more firepower. All ships concentrate fire on the human vessel. But the Defender was not standing still. The ship moved with incredible speed, accelerating and turning in ways that should have been impossible for something so large. The human vessel seemed to anticipate where the alien weapons would be, and simply was not there when they arrived. Lisa, give me our current status, Jake said. We have destroyed 15 enemy ships so far. No damage to us. Their return fire is completely ineffective against our shields. How many targets remaining? 185 ships still active, sir. Jake nodded. Continue the attack. Focus on the larger vessels first. The Defender's quantum torpedoes continued their deadly work. These weapons used technology that the Zephyrians could not understand. The torpedoes existed in a state of quantum superposition, allowing them to pass through shields and armor as if they were not there. When they reached their targets, they collapsed back into normal spacetime, releasing massive amounts of energy directly inside enemy ships. A Zephyrian Dreadnought, one of the largest ships in their fleet, was the next target. The massive vessel was over 2 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to destroy a small planet. It had thick armor plating and powerful shields that had protected it through dozens of battles. None of that mattered when 3 quantum torpedoes materialized inside its hull. The Dreadnought exploded in a fireball that was visible from thousands of kilometers away. Debris from the massive ship scattered in all directions, damaging several smaller vessels nearby. Admiral, we have lost the crushing victory, reported one of Vexstar's officers. I can see that, the Admiral snapped. What about the Deathbringer? Also destroyed, sir. The humans are targeting our largest ships first. Vexstar felt something he had never experienced before in battle: fear. His mighty fleet, which had conquered star systems and terrified entire species, was being destroyed by a single enemy ship. Worse, his own weapons seemed to have no effect at all. All small ships. Attack pattern Delta. Surround the human vessel. Force them to fight on multiple fronts. 50 Zephyrian destroyers and light cruisers moved to surround the Defender. Their captains were brave warriors who had never retreated from a battle. They closed in from all sides, firing their weapons as they approached. Amy watched the enemy ships on her tactical display. Captain, we have multiple small vessels approaching from all directions. I see them. Activate the point defense grid. Point defense grid activated. The Defender's point defense system was a marvel of human engineering. Hundreds of small laser turrets covered the ship's hull, each one guided by advanced artificial intelligence. When the Zephyrian ships came within range, the point defense grid opened fire. The result was spectacular. Thousands of laser beams created a web of destruction around the Defender. Any enemy projectile that came close was instantly vaporized. The alien ships themselves were shredded by the concentrated firepower, their hulls torn apart by the precise laser strikes. In less than 1 minute, all 50 attacking ships were destroyed. The space around the Defender was filled with glowing debris and expanding gas clouds. "Admiral, the attack squadron has been completely destroyed," reported Kriya. Vexstar stared at the tactical display in disbelief. Half of his fleet was already gone, and they had not even scratched the human ship. This was not a battle. It was a massacre. "Sir, several of our captains are requesting permission to retreat," another officer reported. "Retreat?" Vexstar roared. "The Zephyrian Dominion does not retreat. We have never lost a battle." But even as he spoke, more of his ships were dying. The human vessel continued its deadly dance through space, its weapons finding target after target. Every shot was perfectly aimed. Every torpedo found its mark. On the Defender, Jake was receiving constant updates from his crew. "Enemy fleet strength is down to 120 ships," Lisa reported. "They are starting to break formation. Some of their ships are trying to flee," Amy added. "Should we pursue?" Jake considered this. The battle was clearly won, but letting enemy ships escape would only allow them to bring reinforcements later. Continue the attack. Do not let any of them escape. The Defender's advanced engines allowed it to catch up with fleeing ships easily. The human vessel was faster than anything in the Zephyrian fleet. One by one, the retreating ships were hunted down and destroyed. Commander Bell looked up from his engineering station. "Captain, all systems are still operating at peak efficiency. We are using less than 60% of our total power output." "Excellent. How are the weapon systems holding up?" "Perfectly, sir. We have plenty of ammunition remaining." Jake nodded. The Defender had been designed to fight entire fleets single-handedly. The human engineers who built it had planned for exactly this type of scenario. "Admiral," Vexstar watched his fleet disappear ship by ship. The humans were not just defeating them, they were annihilating them. In all his years of warfare, he had never seen anything like it. "Admiral, we have lost 70% of our fleet," Kriya reported. "Our remaining ships are scattered and disorganized. How many ships do we have left?" 63 vessels still combat capable. "But sir, several more are requesting permission to surrender." Vexstar felt his world falling apart. The Zephyrian Dominion had built its reputation on never losing a battle. Now they were not just losing, they were being destroyed by a single enemy ship. "Sir, the human vessel is moving toward us," the sensor officer reported. On the main screen, Vexstar could see the Defender approaching his flagship. The human ship looked undamaged, its hull gleaming in the starlight. It showed no signs of the battle it had just fought. "All remaining ships, protect the flagship," Vexstar ordered. The surviving Zephyrian vessels moved to defend their admirals. Ship, but they were too few and too scattered to mount an effective defense. The Defender's weapons continued their deadly work, picking off the remaining ships one by one. "Admiral, this is Captain Thekvar of the Vengeful Storm," came a transmission from one of the surviving ships. "We cannot hold them. Our weapons are useless against their shields. Then find a way to make them work." Vexstar screamed, but there was no way. The human technology was so far advanced that the Zephyrian weapons might as well have been throwing rocks. The battle had lasted less than 10 minutes, and the mighty Zephyrian fleet was almost completely destroyed. "Admiral," Kriya said quietly, "we have 18 ships left. If we continue this battle, we will all die." Vexstar looked at the tactical display. The human ship was still undamaged, still moving with deadly precision. His own fleet was in ruins, scattered across space like broken toys. For the first time in his career, Admiral Vexstar of the Zephyrian Dominion was about to do something he had never done before: surrender. Admiral Vexstar stood on the bridge of his damaged flagship, watching the human warship approach through the debris field that had once been his mighty fleet. Around him, the few surviving officers worked desperately to keep their ship functioning. Smoke filled the air, and emergency lights flashed red warnings throughout the command center. The Eternal Conquest had taken severe damage from the human weapons. Half of its systems were offline, and the hull had been breached in several places. But somehow, it was still alive, which was more than could be said for most of his fleet. "How many ships do we have left?" Vexstar asked quietly. Sub-Commander Kriya checked her damaged console. 17 ships still respond to our signals, Admiral. Most are badly damaged. The Death's Edge and Crushing Darkness are completely without power. Vexstar looked at the tactical display that showed the wreckage of his fleet scattered across space. 200 warships had entered this battle. Now fewer than 20 remained, and most of those were barely functional. "Sir, the human ship is." "Hailing us," reported the communications officer. Vexstar took a deep breath. In 50 years of warfare, he had never surrendered to anyone, but he had also never faced an enemy like this. "Put them through." Captain Jake Morrison's voice came across the speakers. It was calm and professional, without any trace of anger or hatred. "Admiral Vexstar, this is Captain Morrison. Do you wish to continue this battle?" Vexstar looked around his bridge at his wounded officers and damaged equipment. He thought about the thousands of Zephyrian warriors who had died in the last 10 minutes. He thought about the families who would never see their loved ones again. "Captain Morrison," Vexstar said slowly, "the Zephyrian Dominion... surrenders." The words felt strange in his mouth. He had never spoken them before. Around him, his officers looked shocked. The mighty Zephyrian fleet had surrendered to a single human ship. "Surrender accepted," Morrison replied. "Order your remaining ships to power down their weapons and maintain their current positions." "All ships power down weapon systems," Vexstar commanded. "Do not attempt to flee. We are... defeated." On the Defender, Captain Morrison looked around his bridge. His crew had just won the most one-sided battle in galactic history, and they had done it without taking a single casualty. "Damage report," Jake said. "No damage to report, sir," Commander Bell replied. "All systems are functioning normally. We used only about 40% of our total ammunition. Casualties?" "None, sir. Not even any injuries." Jake nodded. "Ben, send a message to Fleet Command. Tell them we have made contact with a hostile alien species and successfully defended human space." "Message sent, sir." Dr. Phillips spoke up from her station. "Captain, what do we do with the survivors?" Jake thought about this. "We give them medical aid if they need it. Then we send them home with a message." "What kind of message?" "That humanity is not as weak as they thought." Admiral Vexstar was helped to the medical bay of his ship, where doctors treated his injuries from the battle. As he lay on the medical table, he thought about what had just happened. His intelligence had been completely wrong about human capabilities. The humans did not have primitive technology. They had weapons that could phase through shields and armor. They had ships that could move faster than anything he had ever seen. They had defensive systems that made his most powerful weapons useless. But more than that, they had something else. The human captain had shown mercy. Morrison could have destroyed every Zephyrian ship, but he had accepted their surrender instead. He could have captured them all as prisoners, but he was allowing them to go home. Kriya entered the medical bay. "Admiral, the human captain is requesting a private communication with you. Put him through." Jake Morrison's face appeared on a small screen next to the medical table. He looked tired but satisfied. "Admiral, how are your injuries?" "I will survive." Vexstar replied. "Captain, I must ask you something. Why did you let us surrender? You could have destroyed us all." Jake was quiet for a moment, because that is not who humans are. We fight when we have to, but we do not kill unnecessarily. You came to our space with hostile intentions, but now you know better. Your weapons... your technology. Our intelligence was completely wrong. Your intelligence was based on old information. Humans advance quickly. We learn from every encounter, and we always try to be better than we were yesterday. Beckstar nodded slowly. What happens now? Now you go home. You tell your leaders what happened here. You tell them that human space is protected, and any future attacks will be met with the same response. And if we return with a larger fleet? Jake smiled grimly. Admiral, what you fought today was one ship. We have others. And each new ship we build is better than the last. I would not recommend testing us again. The communication ended, leaving Beckstar alone with his thoughts. The Zephyrian Dominion had built its power on the fear of other species. Now they would return home as the species that had been defeated by humans. 3 days later, the surviving Zephyrian ships limped back to their home system. News of their defeat spread quickly through the Dominion. The species that had never lost a battle had been crushed by a single enemy vessel. The story spread beyond Zephyrian space. Other alien civilizations heard about the humans who had destroyed a fleet of 200 ships without taking any damage. Some species became curious about these powerful newcomers. Others became afraid. On Earth, Fleet Command received Captain Morrison's full report. The politicians and military leaders read, ape with amazement. One human ship had defeated an entire alien fleet, establishing humanity as a major power in the galaxy. Orders went out to accelerate the construction of new warships. If there were other hostile species like the Zephyrians, humanity needed to be ready for them. But there were also orders to begin diplomatic outreach. Not all alien species would be hostile. Some might want to trade or form alliances with humanity. 6 months after the battle, Captain Morrison received a new assignment. He was to command a diplomatic mission to the Galactic Council, a group of alien species that govern trade and relations in this part of the galaxy. The Council had sent an invitation to humanity, asking them to send a representative. It was the first time in galactic history that a species had been invited to join after only one contact with other civilizations. As the Defender prepared to depart for the Council station, Jake stood on the observation deck looking out at the stars. Lieutenant Lisa Carter joined him. Do you think we will have more battles like that one? She asked. I hope not, Jake replied. But if we do, we will be ready. The Zephyrians probably told everyone about our weapons by now. Good. Maybe other species will think twice before attacking us. Lisa smiled. Sir, do you think the Admiral was right? Are we brave or just stupid? Jake thought about the question. Maybe we are both, but that is what makes us human. In the weeks that followed, more alien species made contact with humanity. Some came seeking trade agreements. Others wanted military alliances. A few came simply out of curiosity about the species that had defeated the Zephyrian Dominion. The galaxy had changed. For thousands of years, power had belonged to species like the Zephyrians, who used fear and military might to control others. Now there was a new power, one that fought only when necessary, but fought with devastating effectiveness. The age of human expansion had begun. And across the galaxy, alien civilizations were learning that it was better to be friends with humanity than enemies. Admiral Beckstar never fought another battle. He returned to his home world and became a teacher at the Zephyrian Military Academy. His job was to teach young officers about tactics and strategy, but his most important lesson was always the same: never underestimate your enemy. The galaxy was full of species that looked weak, but were actually very strong. The humans had taught him that lesson in the most painful way possible. Sometimes, his students would ask him about the day his fleet was destroyed. He would tell them about the human ship that moved like a dancer and struck like lightning. He would describe weapons that could pass through any defense and shields that could stop any attack. But most importantly, he would tell them about Captain Morrison, the human who could have destroyed them all, but chose mercy instead. That, he would say, was what made humans truly dangerous. They were not just powerful, they were honorable, and in a galaxy where honor was rare, that made them the most formidable species of all. The great ships of the Corvan Empire moved through space like metal gods. Each one was the size of a small city, painted in dark purple and gold. Their weapons could turn entire planets into dust. For 3,000 years, these ships had ruled the galaxy. Every species that met them either bowed down or died. Emperor Zethrak sat on his crystal throne, looking at the star maps floating before him. His empire stretched across 50,000 worlds. Billions of creatures served him. Some served willingly. Others had no choice. The emperor liked it that way. "My lord," said General Vorthik, his 4 arms folded behind his back, "the Zelani colonies have been secured. A mining operation will begin tomorrow." Zethrak nodded. The Zelani were a peaceful people. They lived on 3 small worlds rich in rare metals. They had tried to surrender when the Imperial fleet arrived. It made no difference. The Empire took what it wanted. Good. What about the human situation? Still no response to our demands, Emperor. They seem to think they can ignore us. Zethrak laughed. It was a cold sound that echoed through the throne room. Humans, such a young species. They only learned to travel between stars 50 years ago. They think they can stand against us. Far away, on the neutral world of Nexus Prime, Jake Morrison watched the news reports with growing anger. The human diplomat had been stationed there for 2 years. He was supposed to keep peace between different species, but there was no peace when the Empire was involved. The images on the screen showed Corvan soldiers forcing Zelani families into transport ships. The peaceful miners were being taken to work camps. Their children cried as they were separated from their parents. Jake had seen this happen before to other species. The Empire called it integration. Everyone else called it slavery. Jake turned off the screen and walked to his communication device. The message he sent was short but clear. They hit the Zelani colonies, just like we predicted. The Empire is moving faster than expected. On Earth, President Lisa Carter read Jake's message in the White House Situation Room. She was a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes. But those eyes held a strength that had carried her through 5 years of preparing for this moment. "How long do we have?" she asked. Fleet Admiral Ben Rodriguez looked up from his tablet. He was a tall man with dark skin and hands that never stopped moving. "Based on their previous patterns, they'll send us an ultimatum within the week. Then we'll have maybe 30 days. 30 days to surrender or die," said Chief of Naval Operations Katie Walsh. She was younger than the others, but her voice carried the weight of command. "Same offer they gave the Zelani," Lisa nodded. "And the fleet?" "Ready," Ben said. "Alex Turner reports all systems are operational. The asteroid belt installations are fully armed. The Kuiper Belt bases are online. We have ships positioned in 17 different locations. They still think we only have 50 vessels," Katie added. "Our intelligence suggests they're planning to send a standard conquest fleet. Nothing special." Lisa allowed herself a small smile. Good. Let them think that. The days passed quickly. As predicted, the Empire sent their ultimatum. Ambassador. Derek Stone delivered it personally, appearing on every screen across Earth. He was a tall, thin creature with blue skin and 6 eyes. His voice was smooth but held no warmth. "People of Earth," he said, "the great Corvan Empire offers you a choice. Submit to our rule, and you will be allowed to live. Continue your foolish resistance, and you will be destroyed. You have 30 standard days to decide." When the transmission ended, Lisa stood before the same cameras. She looked directly into the lens. her voice calm and clear. "The people of Earth have heard the Empire's offer. We reject it completely. We will not bow to tyrants. We will not abandon our freedom. If the Empire wants Earth, they can try to take it." Across the galaxy, species that had been conquered long ago watched the human response with amazement. No one had ever refused the Empire so directly. Most thought the humans were brave fools who would be dead within a month. Emperor Zethrak was not amused. "Prepare the Fifth Fleet," he ordered. 200 ships should be enough to handle these primitives. Admiral Kreshtar, commander of the Fifth Fleet, bowed deeply. "It will be done, my Emperor." "Should we take prisoners?" "A few," Zethrak replied. "The rest can serve as an example to other species who might think about resisting us." The Fifth Fleet began its journey to Earth, 200 massive warships, each one carrying enough firepower to level a continent. They moved slowly, taking their time. There was no hurry. The humans had nowhere to run dot but in the asteroid belt. Hidden among the rocks and metal debris, other ships waited. They were sleek and black, invisible to most sensors. Their crews watched the Empire's approach with calm eyes and steady hands. On Lunabase, Commander Alex Turner made final checks on systems that had been years in the making. "All stations report ready," he said into his communicator. "The trap is set." Captain Maria Gonzalez sat in her command chair aboard the UESS Defiance. The ship was unlike anything the Empire had ever seen. Its hull was made from materials that could bend light around them. Its weapons used principles that most species hadn't discovered yet. "How long until they arrive?" she asked. 72 hours, came the reply. Maria nodded and looked out at the stars. Soon, the Empire would learn that humans were not the weak primitives they thought. Soon, everything would change. The Empire's ships continued their journey, confident in their power. They had no idea that they were flying into the most carefully planned trap in galactic history. They had no idea that humanity had been preparing for this moment since the day they first learned about the Empire's existence. They had no idea that Earth's fleet was already waiting. The Fifth Imperial Fleet moved through space like a storm of metal and fire. Admiral Kreshtar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominion's Wrath. The massive ship was 3 kilometers long and bristled with weapons. Behind it, 100, and 99 other vessels followed in perfect formation. Kreshtar was proud of his fleet. It had conquered 47 worlds in the past decade. Today, it would conquer its 48th. The Admiral looked at the intelligence reports about Earth one more time. The humans had perhaps 50 ships, all of them primitive and outdated. This would be easy. "How long until we reach their system?" he asked his second-in-command. 18 hours, Admiral. "Should we prepare the surrender broadcast?" Kreshtar waved a clawed hand. "Not yet. Let them see our ships first. Fear makes conquest easier." Far ahead of the Imperial fleet, Captain Nicole Davis watched from the bridge of the P. U.E.'s shadow. Her ship was completely invisible to the Empire's sensors. She had been tracking their movement for 3 days, sending regular reports back to Earth. "They're still coming straight at us," she told her crew. "No change in formation. No sign they suspect anything." Her communications officer looked up from his station. "Orders from Fleet Command, Captain. We're to maintain observation until the fleet enters the solar system." Nicole nodded. The Shadow was one of humanity's most advanced stealth ships. It could hide in plain sight, even from the Empire's best sensors. Right now, it was humanity's eyes and ears. Watching the approaching storm dot back on Earth, the final preparations were being made. In the underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, President Lisa Carter watched the status reports coming in from across the solar system. Every screen showed green lights. Every system was ready. The asteroid belt installations are fully operational, reported Katie Walsh. All weapon systems are charged and ready. The Kuiper Belt bases are online, added Ben Rodriguez. The Fold space generators are functioning perfectly, Lisa nodded. And our fleet? Positioned and waiting, Ben replied. 5,237 vessels, all ready for combat. On Luna Base, Commander Alex Turner made his final rounds. The base looked like a normal mining facility from the outside, but beneath the surface, it was one of the most advanced military installations in human history. The command center was buried deep in the moon's rock, surrounded by shields that could stop a direct hit from a star destroyer. All systems green, reported his chief engineer. The quantum drives are operating at peak efficiency. Alex smiled. The quantum drives were humanity's greatest secret. They allowed ships to move in ways that seemed impossible, appearing and disappearing at will. The Empire had never seen anything like them. In the asteroid belt, Captain Maria Gonzalez checked her ship's systems one more time. The U's Defiance was hidden inside a hollowed-out asteroid, completely invisible to outside sensors. Around her, hundreds of other ships waited in similar hiding spots. "Crew reports ready, Captain," said her first officer. "All weapons charged, shields at full power." Maria looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Empire's fleet was getting closer. Soon, they would learn that humanity was not as helpless as they believed. Dr. Sam Phillips worked in his laboratory on Titan, making final adjustments to the adaptive shielding technology. The breakthrough had come from studying alien artifacts found in the outer systems. Human scientists had taken the basic principles and improved them far beyond what their original creators had imagined. "The shields will adapt to any weapon they encounter," he explained to his team. "The first shot might hurt us, but the second shot will do nothing." His assistant looked worried. "Are you sure it will work against Imperial weapons?" Sam smiled. "We've tested it against every type of energy weapon the Empire uses. It works perfectly." Meanwhile, in the deep space construction yards, hidden in the Kuiper Belt, the final ships were being launched. Chief Engineer Ryan Brooks watched as the massive vessels moved away from their berths. These were humanity's newest and most powerful warships, built in secret over the past 10 years. "That's the last of them," he told his crew. "All vessels are now in position." The ships moved away, disappearing into the darkness of space. To any observer, the area looked empty. But hidden among the ice and rock, hundreds of human vessels waited for their moment. On Earth, civilians went about their daily lives, unaware of the approaching danger. The government had not announced the Empire's ultimatum. There was no point in causing panic. Instead, people were quietly moved to underground shelters, told only that it was a safety drill. Jake Morrison arrived back on Earth from Nexus Prime, carrying vital intelligence about the Empire's tactics. He met with President Carter in Nagasti, White House, sharing everything he had learned about how the Empire conducted its conquests. "They always use the same pattern," he explained. "First, they destroy any orbital defenses. Then they target military bases. Finally, they attack population centers until the government surrenders." "And if there's no surrender?" Lisa asked. Jake's face was grim. "Then they glass the entire planet. But this time would be different. The Empire expected to find a few dozen primitive human ships. Instead, they would face a fleet that had been designed specifically to counter their tactics. Every weapon, every shield, every system had been built with one goal in mind: defeating the Empire. Captain Tony Martinez commanded. The U's Vigilant, another stealth ship, watching the Empire's approach. His vessel was equipped with the most advanced sensors humanity had ever built. He could see every ship in the Imperial fleet, count their weapons, and analyze their weaknesses. "They're confident," he reported to Fleet Command. "No scouts, no. Advance guard. They're coming straight at us like they own the place." "Good," came the reply. "Let them keep thinking that." Commander Rachel Green sat in the command center of the UE Citadel, a massive ship hidden in the shadow of Neptune. The Citadel was the fleet's mobile command base, equipped with communication systems that could coordinate thousands of vessels across the entire solar system. "All ships report ready," she announced. "The trap is set." The Empire's fleet continued its approach, unaware that they were being watched by dozens of human vessels. They saw only empty space ahead of them. They had no idea that the asteroids around them were actually camouflage ships. They didn't know that the seemingly empty regions of space were full of invisible vessels waiting to strike. Admiral Kreshtar looked at the tactical display showing Earth's solar system. It appeared almost defenseless. A few outdated ships near. Earth itself, some mining stations, nothing more. "The humans are even weaker than we thought," he said to his officers. "This will be over in hours." But hidden in the darkness, humanity's greatest fleet waited. Ships that could appear and disappear at will. Weapons that could adapt to any defense. Shields that grew stronger with each attack. The Empire was about to learn that humanity had spent 50 years preparing for this moment. The countdown had begun. In just a few hours, the Empire would arrive at Earth. And when they did, they would face a revelation that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The Fifth Imperial Fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. 200 massive warships materialized in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming in the light of Sol. Admiral Kreshtar stood on his bridge, expecting to see the pathetic human fleet cowering behind their home world. Instead, he saw almost nothing. "Sensor report," he commanded. His tactical officers studied the displays. "We detect 37 human vessels, Admiral. Most are stationed near Earth's moon. They appear to be outdated cruisers and destroyers." Kreshtar laughed. 37. Ships? Our intelligence said 50. Are they hiding the rest? "No, sir. Our sensors would detect any significant fleet within this system. This appears to be their entire military force." The Admiral shook his head in disbelief. "They refused our ultimatum with only 37 ships? These humans are either very brave or very stupid." Deep in the asteroid belt, Captain Maria Gonzalez listened to the Imperial communications from her hidden position. The U's Defiance was tucked inside a hollowed-out asteroid, completely invisible to the Empire's sensors. Around her, hundreds of other human ships waited in similar hiding spots. "They're taking the bait," she whispered to her crew. "They think we only have 37 ships." Her tactical officer smiled. "Should we tell them about the other 5,000? "Not yet," Maria replied. "Let them get comfortable first." Admiral Kreshtar opened a communication channel to Earth. The transmission was sent on all frequencies, ensuring that every human on the planet would hear it. "People of Earth," his voice boomed, "I am Admiral Kreshtar of the Fifth Imperial Fleet. Your time is up. Surrender now, and we will allow your leaders to live. Continue your resistance, and we will destroy every ship, every station, and every city on your world." The response came from President Lisa Carter herself. Her image appeared on the Admiral's main screen, showing a small woman with gray hair and determined eyes. "Admiral Kreshtar," she said calmly, "the people of Earth have already given you our answer. We will not surrender. We will not bow to tyrants. If you want our world, you'll have to take it." Kreshtar's face twisted in anger. "Very well. You have chosen death. Do not blame us for what happens next." He cut the transmission and turned to his weapons officer. "Target the moon installations first. Destroy their shipyards and mining facilities. Let them watch their infrastructure burn." "Yes, Admiral. Targeting solutions locked." The Imperial fleet moved into attack formation. The massive ships spread out across space, their weapons charging with deadly energy. Each vessel carried enough firepower to level a continent. Together, they could turn Earth's moon into floating debris. But they were not alone in the system. Captain Tony Martinez watched from the U's Vigilant, his stealth ship hidden among the outer planets. He had been tracking the Imperial fleet's movements, recording their formations and weapon signatures. Every piece of data was being transmitted back to Fleet Command. "They're positioning themselves exactly where we predicted," he reported, moving into standard bombardment formation. "Copy that, Vigilant?" came the reply from Commander Rachel Green aboard the U's Citadel. "All ships maintain position. Do not engage until the signal is given." The Imperial fleet began their attack. Massive energy beams lanced out from there, weapons striking the lunar surface with devastating force. Mining facilities exploded in brilliant flashes. Shipyards that had taken years to build were vaporized in seconds. But something was wrong. "Admiral," reported the tactical officer, "we're not detecting any human casualties. The facilities appear to have been evacuated." Kreshtar frowned. "Evacuated? When?" "Unknown, sir. But our sensors show no life signs in any of the installations we've destroyed." The Admiral studied the tactical display. The humans had abandoned their facilities before the attack began. That meant they had known exactly when the Imperial fleet would arrive. "Sir," called the communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth." President Carter's image appeared on the screen again. She was sitting in what appeared to be an underground bunker, surrounded by military officers. "Admiral," she said, "thank you for the demonstration. Your weapons are impressive. But you're attacking empty buildings. Did you really think we would leave our people in harm's way?" Kreshtar's eyes narrowed. "Clever. But it changes nothing. We will simply target your population centers next." "I don't think so," Carter replied. "You see, Admiral, you've just made a mistake. You've revealed your weapon signatures, your targeting systems, and your tactical formations. Our sensors have recorded everything." The Admiral felt a chill run down his spine. "What are you talking about?" "You've been watched since the moment you entered our system. We know exactly what you're capable of. And now we're going to show you what we're capable of." Carter's image disappeared from the screen. "Admiral," the tactical officer's voice was urgent, "I'm detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system. But I can't pinpoint their source." "What do you mean you can't pinpoint them?" "The energy readings are everywhere, sir. It's like the entire system is charging up for something." Captain Steve Adams sat in the command chair of the UES Retribution, one of humanity's most powerful battleships. The massive vessel was hidden in the shadow of Jupiter, its stealth systems making it invisible to Imperial sensors. Around him, his crew made final preparations for battle. "All systems green, Captain," reported his first officer. "Weapons charged, shields at maximum." Steve nodded. "Good. It's almost time." Dr. Sam Phillips monitored the fleet's adaptive shielding from his control center on Titan. The technology was humanity's greatest defensive breakthrough. Each ship's shields would automatically adjust to counter any weapon fired at them. "All vessels report shield systems operational," he announced. "The fleet is ready." On Luna Base, Commander Alex Turner watched the Imperial fleet's movements from his hidden command center. The base looked like it had been destroyed, but that was just camouflage. The real installations were deep underground, protected by layers of armor and energy shields. "They're spreading out," he reported. "Perfect. They're positioning themselves exactly where we want them." The Imperial fleet continued their bombardment, destroying empty facilities and abandoned outposts. They were following their standard conquest pattern, systematically eliminating what they believed to be Earth's defenses. But every shot they fired was being analyzed. Every energy beam was being studied. Every weapon system was being cataloged. The humans were learning everything they needed to know about Imperial military technology. "Admiral," the sensor officer called out, "I'm detecting some kind of quantum disturbance in the asteroid belt." Kreshtar looked at the display. "What kind of disturbance?" "Unknown, sir. It's unlike anything in our databases." The Admiral felt increasingly uneasy. Something was wrong with this conquest. The humans were too calm, too prepared. They acted like they knew something he didn't. "Sir," another officer reported, "we're detecting similar disturbances near the outer planets. And in the Kuiper Belt, the energy signatures are getting stronger." Kreshtar stared at the tactical display. The energy readings were appearing all over the solar system, but his sensors couldn't identify their source. It was as if the entire system was waking up, preparing for something. "What are they hiding?" He muttered. Captain Nicole Davis piloted the UES Shadow closer to the Imperial fleet, her stealth ship invisible to their sensors. She was now close enough to see the massive warships with her own eyes. They were impressive vessels, but she had seen humanity's newest ships. The comparison was not favorable to the Empire. "Fleet Command," she transmitted. "The Imperial fleet is fully committed. They're spread out across a wide area, focusing on what they think are our primary targets." "Copy that, Shadow," came the reply. "Maintain observation. The show is about to begin." Admiral Kreshtar made a decision. Target their population centers. If they want to play games, we'll show them the consequences. But before his weapons officer could comply, something impossible happened. The empty space around the Imperial fleet began to shimmer. Points of light appeared where nothing had been before. The lights grew brighter and larger, resolving into shapes that made no sense. Ships. Thousands of ships. Peering out of nowhere like ghosts becoming solid. "What? Kreshtar began, but his voice trailed off as more and more human vessels materialized around his fleet. The trap was about to be sprung. The moment President Carter gave the signal, the solar system exploded into activity. What Admiral Kreshtar thought was empty space suddenly filled with human warships. They appeared everywhere at once, as if the darkness itself was giving birth to a fleet. The asteroid belt revealed massive installations that had been hidden for decades. The Kuiper Belt came alive with the glow of charging weapons. "Impossible," Kreshtar whispered, staring at his sensors. "Admiral," his tactical officer's voice cracked with fear, "I'm counting over 5,000 human vessels. They're surrounding us." The Admiral's confidence crumbled as he watched the display. Where moments before his fleet had faced 37 outdated ships, now they were surrounded by a force that outnumbered them, 25-1. Captain Steve Adams appeared on the Imperial flagship's main screen. The human commander sat calmly in his chair, wearing the dark blue uniform of Earth's fleet. Behind him, the bridge of the UE's Retribution hummed with quiet efficiency. "Admiral Kreshtar," Steve said politely, "I am Captain Adams of the United Earthship Retribution. You are now surrounded by the Earth Defense Fleet. I suggest you power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." Kreshtar found his voice. "This is impossible. Our intelligence said you had 50 ships at most." Steve smiled. "Your intelligence was designed to see exactly what we wanted it to see. Did you really think we would show you our true strength?" The Admiral looked at his tactical display again. The numbers were staggering. Battleships larger than his own flagship. Carriers that launched fighter craft unlike anything in the Empire's arsenal. Destroyers that moved with impossible speed and agility. "How?" he managed to ask. "We've been preparing for this moment since the day we learned about your empire," Steve replied. "Every species you conquered taught us something new. Every world you destroyed showed us what we were fighting against. We've had 50 years to get ready. Fleet Admiral Ben Rodriguez opened a channel from the command ship, UES Terra's Pride. His image appeared on screens throughout the Imperial fleet. "Ships of the 5th Imperial Fleet," he announced. "You are outgunned, outnumbered, and outmaneuvered. Surrender now, and you will be treated according to the laws of war. Continue fighting, and you will be destroyed." Admiral Kreshdar's pride would not let him surrender so easily. "All ships, attack formation. We are the 5th Imperial Fleet. We do not surrender to primitives." The Imperial ships began to move, their weapons charging for battle. But as they did, something strange happened. The human ships around them began to flicker, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. Captain Maria Gonzalez activated the UES Defiance's quantum drive. Her ship phased out of normal space for a fraction of a second, then reappeared directly behind an Imperial destroyer. The confused alien crew had no time to react before her weapons disabled their engines. "Quantum drive functioning perfectly," she reported. "Target disabled." Across the battlefield, other human ships demonstrated similar capabilities. They moved in ways that defied physics, appearing behind enemy vessels before disappearing again. The Imperial fleet's formation fell apart as ships tried to track targets that seemed to exist in multiple places at once. Dr. Sam Phillips watched from his control center as the adaptive shielding systems activated. The first Imperial energy beams struck human ships with devastating force. But the second volleys did nothing. The shields had analyzed the Imperial weapons and adapted to counter them perfectly. "Shields are holding," he announced. "Adaptation successful across all vessels." Captain Lisa Murphy commanded one of the stealth frigates that had been invisible throughout the entire battle. Her ship, the U-East Phantom, could hide even while firing its weapons. She targeted the Imperial command ship's communication systems, cutting off their ability to coordinate the fleet. "Enemy communications disrupted," she reported. "They can't talk to each other anymore." Commander Frank Taylor's heavy cruiser, the UES Thunderbolt, unleashed a barrage that staggered the Imperial flagship. The weapons used principles that the Empire had never encountered. Instead of simple energy beams, they fired concentrated packets of quantum force that ignored conventional shielding. "Direct hit on the flagship," Frank reported. "Their main shields are down." Admiral Kreshdar felt his mighty vessel shudder under the impact. Alarms blared throughout the bridge as system after system failed. His weapons officer looked up in panic. "Sir, our shields are useless against their weapons, and our guns can't penetrate their defenses." The Admiral realized with growing horror that his fleet was not just outgunned. They were fighting an enemy that had technology far beyond anything the Empire possessed. The humans had taken everything they knew about Imperial warfare and found ways to counter it. "All ships retreat," he ordered. "Fall back to the edge of the system." But there was nowhere to run. Human ships appeared in every direction, cutting off all escape routes. The fold space technology allowed them to move instantly from one location to another, surrounding the Imperial fleet completely. Captain Jennifer Bell led the boarding operations as her Marines prepared to capture Imperial vessels. Her troops wore armor that made them nearly invisible, equipped with weapons that could disable alien technology without destroying it. "Boarding parties ready," she reported. "We'll have prisoners within the hour." The battle was unlike anything in galactic history. The mighty Imperial fleet, which had conquered dozens of worlds, found itself completely helpless against human ingenuity. Ships that should have been destroyed kept fighting, their adaptive shields growing stronger with each attack. Weapons that should have missed their targets struck with impossible accuracy. Commander Rachel Green coordinated the entire operation from the UES Citadel. Her command ship monitored every aspect of the battle, ensuring that human forces worked together perfectly. perfectly. "All sectors report successful engagement," she announced. "The Imperial fleet is completely surrounded and outmatched." Admiral Kreshtar's flagship was boarded within minutes. Human Marines appeared on his bridge as if they had materialized from thin air. They moved with precision and efficiency, disabling his crew's weapons before anyone could react. "Admiral," said the Marine commander, "you are now a prisoner of the United Earth Fleet. Your ship is forfeit." Kreshtar looked around his bridge at the human soldiers. They were smaller than his people, but they carried themselves with quiet confidence. Their armor was more advanced than anything the Empire possessed. Their weapons hummed with barely contained power. "How did you develop such technology?" he asked. The Marine commander smiled. "We learned from everyone you conquered. Every species you destroyed had something to teach us. We took their knowledge and made it better." On Earth, President Carter watched the battle from her command center. The screens showed Imperial ships surrendering one by one, their crews evacuated before the vessels were claimed as prizes. It was exactly what they had planned. "Casualties?" she asked. "Minimal," reported Katie Walsh. 17 minor injuries, no deaths. The Imperial fleet is completely neutralized." Lisa nodded. "And their flagship?" "Captured intact. Admiral Kreshtar is in custody." The President allowed herself a small smile. "Good. Send a message to the Empire. Tell them we want to negotiate." Captain Nicole Davis piloted the UES Shadow through the debris field that had once been the proud 5th Imperial Fleet. Most of the ships were intact, just disabled. Their crews had been taken prisoner and would be treated well. But the message was clear. The Empire was no longer invincible. "Fleet Command," she transmitted. "The solar system is secure. All Imperial vessels have been captured or destroyed." "Copy." "That, Shadow, well done." The battle had lasted less than 2 hours. The Empire's most powerful fleet had been defeated by humans, who supposedly had only primitive technology. The galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Kreshtar sat in his cell aboard the UE Satribution, staring at the walls. He had commanded fleets that terrorized entire star systems. Now he was a prisoner of a species that had only been traveling between stars for 50 years. How had they done it? How had they hidden such a massive fleet? How had they developed technology that surpassed the Empire's best? The answer was simple, though he didn't know it yet. Humanity had done what no other species had ever managed. They had learned from everyone the Empire had conquered, and they had prepared for war with the patience and determination that only humans possessed. The Empire's reign of terror was about to end. The news of the Fifth Fleet's defeat reached Emperor Zethrak within hours. The ruler of the greatest empire in galactic history sat in stunned silence as his advisors delivered the impossible reports. "The entire fleet?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Captured or destroyed, my Emperor," General Vorthik replied, his forearms trembling. "Admiral Kreshtar is alive, but he is now a prisoner of the humans." Zethrak stood from his crystal throne and walked to the massive window that overlooked his capital city. Below him, millions of beings went about their daily lives, unaware that their empire's invincibility had just been shattered by a species they had never heard of. "How many ships did the humans have?" "Over 5,000, my Emperor." "They appeared from nowhere, using technology we don't understand." The Emperor closed his eyes. For 3,000 years, no force in the galaxy had challenged the Empire's might. Now, a species that had only learned to travel between stars 50 years ago had destroyed his most powerful fleet. On Earth, President Lisa Carter stood before the cameras of the world. Behind her, the flags of every nation on Earth hung in air. Display of unity that would have been impossible just days before. "My fellow humans," she began, "today we have shown the galaxy that Earth will not bow to tyrants. The Empire came to conquer us, but they found instead that we were ready for them. Their fleet has been defeated, their survivors are our prisoners, and their threat to our world has ended. The reaction was immediate. Across Earth, people poured into the streets in celebration. The fear that had gripped the planet for weeks was replaced by joy and pride. Humanity had faced its greatest test and emerged victorious. But Lisa knew this was just the beginning. The Empire would not accept this defeat quietly. More fleets would come, and humanity had to be ready. Ambassador. Derek Stone found himself in a very different position than he had been just days before. The arrogant diplomat who had delivered the Empire's ultimatum now sat across from human negotiators in a conference room aboard the U.E.'s Terra's Pride. "The terms are simple," said Jake Morrison, now promoted to head of the Terran Diplomatic Corps. "The Empire will withdraw from all human territory, release all enslaved species, and enter into a non-aggression pact with Earth." Stone's blue skin had turned pale. "The Emperor will never agree to such terms. Then the Emperor can explain to his people why the Terran fleet is orbiting his capital world." Jake replied calmly. The alien diplomat's 6 eyes widened. "You would attack Corvin Prime?" "If necessary. We've shown what happens when the Empire attacks innocent worlds. Would you like us to demonstrate what happens when we attack guilty ones?" Commander Alex Turner supervised the construction of humanity's first interstellar naval base. The station was being built in the asteroid belt, using technology captured from the Imperial fleet. It would serve as a staging point for human expansion into the galaxy. "How long until the base is operational?" asked Captain Maria Gonzalez. 6 months, Alex replied. "We're using Imperial construction techniques, but improving them with our own technology. This base will be 10 times more powerful than anything the Empire has built." Maria nodded. Her ship, the U.E.'s Defiance, would be one of the first vessels stationed at the new base. From there, human patrols would sweep through nearby star systems, offering protection to species that had suffered under Imperial rule. Captain Steve Adams received new orders while his ship escorted captured Imperial vessels back to Earth. U.E.S. Retribution would lead the first deep space patrol, venturing beyond the solar system to make contact with other species. "Our mission is simple," he told his crew. "We're going to visit every world the Empire has conquered and tell them they're free." The reaction was enthusiastic. Steve's crew had seen the reports from the Zelani colonies, where Imperial forces had enslaved peaceful miners. Now they would have the chance to right those wrongs. Dr. Sam Phillips continued his work on improving human technology. The captured Imperial ships provided a treasure trove of information about alien science. But instead of simply copying their designs, human engineers were finding ways to make them better. "Their weapons are powerful," he explained to his research team, "but they're also crude. They rely on brute force instead of precision. We can build weapons that are smaller, more efficient, and much more effective." His adaptive shielding technology was already being improved. The next generation would be able to counter weapons that hadn't even been invented yet. On the Imperial capital of Corvin Prime, Emperor Zethrak faced a crisis unlike any in his empire's history. The defeat of the Fifth Fleet had sent shockwaves through his military. Species that had been conquered long ago were beginning to rebel, inspired by humanity's example. "The Zelani have declared independence," reported General Vorthik. "The Antari are refusing to pay tribute. 3 other systems have stopped responding to our communications." Zethrak's anger burned cold. "Send the Third Fleet to crush these rebellions." "My Emperor," Vorthik said carefully, "the Third Fleet is refusing to leave port. The admirals are demanding to know how humans destroyed the Fifth Fleet before they risk their own ships." For the first time in his reign, Zethrak felt fear. His empire was built on the belief that imperial might was unstoppable. Now that belief was cracking, and everything was falling apart. Captain Jennifer Bell commanded the U.S. Liberation as it approached the Zelani colonies. Her ship was part of a humanitarian fleet sent to free the enslaved miners and their families. The operation was carefully planned to avoid civilian casualties while removing Imperial forces. Zelani Control, this is Captain Bell of the United Earthship Liberation. We're here to help. The response came quickly, filled with hope and disbelief. Earthship, this is Zelani Colony Prime. Are you really here to free us? Yes, Jennifer replied. The Imperial garrison will be removed. Your people will be free. The mission proceeded flawlessly. Imperial troops, already demoralized by news of the Fifth Fleet's defeat, surrendered without a fight. Within hours, the Zelani people were free for the first time in decades. Similar operations took place across dozens of star systems. Human ships appeared wherever the Empire had left garrisons, offering freedom to enslaved species and protection from Imperial retaliation. Commander Rachel Green established the new Terran Command Center on a massive space station hidden in the outer solar system. From here, she coordinated human operations across an ever-expanding area of space. Status report, she requested. 17 star systems have been liberated, her operations officer replied. 43 species have requested Earth's protection. The Imperial Navy is in full retreat, Rachel smiled. And our fleet strength? Growing daily. The shipyards are working around the clock. We'll have 8,000 vessels operational within a year. Back on Corvin Prime, Ambassador Stone delivered the human ultimatum to Emperor Zethrak in person. The once proud diplomat looked defeated as he read the terms aloud. The Empire must release all enslaved species immediately. All Imperial forces must withdraw to their original territories. The Empire must pay reparations to every species it has conquered. And the Empire must submit to regular inspections by Terran observers. Zethrak's hands shook with rage. These terms are impossible. The Empire will never submit to such humiliation. Stone looked up from the document. Then the Empire will face the consequences. The humans have demonstrated their capabilities. Do you wish to test them further? The Emperor thought of his defeated fleet, his rebellious subjects, and his demoralized military. For 3,000 years, the Empire had ruled through fear. Now that fear was gone, replaced by something far more dangerous. Hope. Jake. Morrison met with representatives from dozens of species in the First Galactic Liberation Conference. The meeting took place on Nexus Prime, the same neutral world where he had witnessed Imperial brutality years before. The age of empires is ending, he told the assembled delegates. No longer will any species have to bow to tyrants. Earth offers protection to all who seek freedom. The response was overwhelming. Species that had been conquered centuries ago saw their chance for independence. Worlds that had lived in fear of Imperial fleets now had a powerful protector. Captain Nicole Davis led a patrol of stealth ships deep into Imperial space. Their mission was reconnaissance, mapping Imperial defenses and gathering intelligence. What they found surprised everyone. Command, she transmitted. The Imperial fleet is falling apart. We're seeing mass desertions, rebellions on military bases, and entire squadrons refusing orders. The Empire's military was collapsing from within. Soldiers who had once believed in Imperial superiority now questioned everything they had been taught. President Carter addressed the United Nations in a historic session broadcast to the entire galaxy. Leaders from Earth's nations sat alongside representatives from newly liberated alien worlds. Today, she announced, we established the Galactic Alliance for Freedom. This alliance will protect the innocent, defend the weak, and ensure that no species ever again suffers under tyranny. The applause was thunderous, both from the human delegates and from the alien representatives, watching via hologram.emperor. Zethrak made his final decision in the solitude of his private chambers. The reports were clear. His empire was finished. Half his military had deserted. His conquered worlds were in open rebellion, and human fleets W.